Our stockade is called Dwarf Stockade, and there is a statue of Serena enshrined. Men in the stockade are all dwarfs before they are 20 years old. Only on the day of their 20th birthday, by obtaining a drop of virgin blood from a woman from outside, can they return to normal. Otherwise, it is a dead end. A week before my younger brother's 20th birthday, my mom called and urged me to find a clean woman and bring her back to the stockade quickly. I took a look at my roommate who was clamoring for a trip. I told my mom that I would bring a woman back tomorrow. My home is in a stockade deep in the mountains. It is located in the south, isolated from the world. The scenery is nice. So when my roommate Tariana suggested finding a place to travel during the holiday, I took her there. After taking a train and a bus for a whole day, finally, I got off on the muddy road at the entrance of the mountain with Ariana carrying big and small bags. As soon as I stood firmly, Ariana showed her young lady's temper and didn't want to walk anymore. What kind of crappy place where not even a bird shits? I really believed you and came here for a trip. I picked up her suitcase and gently comforted her. The road is a bit difficult to walk on, but the scenery inside is definitely worth your coming. Didn't I show you the photos? Watching the sunrise from the mountain behind my house is extremely beautiful. Let's go. It's getting dark. If we don't enter the mountain soon, we won't be able to reach the stockade at night. It's very dangerous to sleep outdoors. After saying this, I started to walk. Ariana turned her head and looked at the surrounding scenery. Occasionally, there were a few roars of wild beasts coming from the forest. She was startled and trembled. Then she lifted her skirt and frowned as she followed me into the mountain. After walking for almost an hour on foot, seeing that the entrance of the stockade was about to arrive, I was going to talk to Ariana about some precautions after entering the stockade. When I turned around, I found that there was no one behind me long ago. Could it be that she found something suspicious and escaped? I muttered in a low voice, throwing the suitcase aside impatiently. Then I heard Ariana's cry for help coming from under the opposite slope. No. Don't come over. Allah. Come and save me. Where the hell are you? Get away. Get away. Don't come near me. I ran quickly to the top of the slope, calmly looked down at Ariana below. I saw her sitting among a pile of stone statues, constantly waving her hands. Her face was crazy and fearful. I smiled. Ariana, what's wrong with you? My voice spread down from the slope. Ariana's movements stopped. She looked up at me blankly. Then soon, her eyes became clear. Allah, I responded, jumping down from the slope. I walked to Ariana's side and pulled her up from the ground. Did you fall? Ariana hugged my arm like seeing a life-saving straw. Looking around trembling lie. Allah, tell me honestly, is there something dirty in your mountain? I also looked around following her gaze. Except for some ancient trees towering into the clouds around, there are also hundreds of human-shaped stone statues densely placed on the ground. There are men and women. The male stone statues are all short, lying and kneeling on the ground in a mess, looking like a group of children playing. The female stone statues are all adult women, with their heads bowed. They are kneeling in neat rows. All these stone statues are facing me and Ariana. They have different expressions, either frightened, or giggling, or joyful, or crying. Each one reveals a strange feeling. Ariana didn't wait for my answer. She hurriedly urged me to leave quickly. Under her gaze, I squatted down, picked up a female stone statue that had been kicked down by her at her feet, put it on a stone platform aside. The female stone statue is very small. So small that it is only the size of a palm. It is also the smallest one among this group of stone statues. If you don't pay attention, it may be kicked away as a stone. I gently raised my hand and patted the dust off her body. Then I turned my head and looked at Ariana with a half smile. Don't talk nonsense. Ariana, how could there be something dirty here? This is Serena. She will bless us. Moreover, Serena seems to like you very much. I took Ariana away from this forest of stone statues. She kept asking me what Serena was. I only told her. Serena is the god enshrined in our stockade. She will always stay in this deep mountain and guard us in the stockade. Ariana couldn't help being puzzled. Then why did I see a bunch of stone statues chasing me just now? I smiled. I said, Serena likes you. Ariana shivered. Bad luck. Who wants her to like it? As soon as the words fell. Suddenly, in the forest in the distance, a group of wild birds flew into the sky and made bursts of mournful cries. I know. Serena is angry. But I didn't speak. I took Ariana and continued walking towards the stockade. My mom was already waiting for us at the entrance. After seeing us from afar, she excitedly came over and took the luggage from Ariana's hand. Tired? Little girl? Let me take your things. Ariana was not polite either. She casually threw the luggage in her other hand to my mom. Thank you, Auntie. Your place is too remote for this trip. My new clothes are all dirty. They cost several thousand yuan. My mom smiled faintly. When we get home, Auntie will wash it for you. It must be washed by hand. A washing machine won't do. Don't worry. There is no washing machine in our stockade. Ariana was stunned for a moment. Looking aside in disgust, she muttered in a low voice, so backward. When we got home, my mom and I carried the luggage into the house. Ariana stood in the middle of the yard, with her arms crossed, looking around in disgust. Are we staying here tonight? After I heard it, while folding things, I replied to her, well, bear with it. I will take you out to play tomorrow. All right. All right. Where is your bathroom? I want to go to the toilet. Go to the right. It's at the corner. After Ariana left, my mom tilted her head and asked me, are you sure she is clean? I nodded. Don't worry. She is very clean. She still wants to catch a rich second generation. My mom looked back at the direction of the toilet with some disgust. She is good looking, but her temperament is annoying. I hummed. That's why I brought her here. Where is Miles? Why didn't I see him? Hearing me ask about my younger brother, my mom lifted her chin. There. He couldn't wait to check it out. I looked in the direction of her line of sight. I found that Miles had already played with Ariana at some point. Sister is so beautiful. Is she a fairy from the sky? I have never seen a woman more beautiful than sister. After I put away my things, I walked to the yard. I saw Ariana being praised by Miles until she was beaming. Little brother is so cute. So sweet-tongued. It's no wonder Ariana called him little brother. Miles looks like a 4 or 5-year-old child now. No matter how Ariana guessed, she would never know that under such a body, there was actually a man's soul who was almost 20 years old. Ariana squatted down. Miles immediately rushed over and asked Ariana for a hug. As soon as Ariana opened her arms, he buried his face in her embrace and kept rubbing. Sister's body is as soft as cotton candy. Ariana blushed. She shyly let go of Miles and stood up. I stepped forward in time and introduced Miles to Ariana. Ariana. This is my younger brother. Miles. Ariana nodded. I know. He just said it. But Ayla. You are in your 20s. Your younger brother is so young. Is your family patriarchal? I heard that your dad died in an accident. Your mom is so old. It's like your mom gave birth to a son for you. When you get married and find a man in the future and take your younger brother with you, will others think that you are divorced? Ariana's tone was full of sarcasm. I was a little embarrassed. Miles smiled and came forward, took Ariana's hand and shook it back and forth to help me out. Beautiful sister. There is equality between men and women in my family. My mom also loves my sister very much. Really? Ariana snorted and didn't say anything else. She turned and walked into the room I prepared for her, in a place where she couldn't see. Miles and I looked at each other. Miles excitedly licked his lips. Then he turned his head and leered at Ariana's back. Sister. You really brought her back. It seems that it's not your turn. I lowered my eyes and didn't speak. But I know that he should be quite satisfied with this woman I brought back for him. At dinner in the evening, my mom brought a bowl of milky white soup and asked me to let Ariana drink it. According to custom. Later, only if Ariana drinks the soup every day can Miles draw blood when the time comes. So I lied to Ariana that this was soup cooked with wild mushrooms. Hearing that she was coming to play, my mom specially cooked it. It was cooked for an afternoon. It's very fresh. Ariana happily drank a big bowl and kept praising it. But soon she fell asleep. My mom and I immediately put down our bowls and chopsticks and carried her to Miles' room. Miles also followed in. My mom urged me and her to leave quickly before the door was closed tightly. I saw through the crack of the door that Miles slowly crawled towards Ariana like a spider from the foot of the bed. My mom smiled with relief. In the early morning of the next day, my mom and I carried Ariana to her room again. Before leaving, Miles was lying on the bed satisfied. My mom told him to restrain himself and not overdo it. The main course had to be saved until his birthday. Miles nodded and said he knew. He waved his hand and urged me and my mom to leave quickly. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if Ariana woke up. My mom and I didn't dare to delay. We carried Ariana and left. After my mom tittied up and left the room, I pretended to just wake up and woke up Ariana, saying that I would take her to climb the mountain and watch the sunrise. Ariana rubbed her eyes and sat up on the bed, frowning and complaining. What kind of bed is this in your house? It's so hard. I slept so sore all over. It's like lying on the ground all night. The air is all so damp. It makes me dizzy when I smell it. What a poor and backward place. There is nothing good. My eyes darkened. Instead of answering, I casually threw a coat to her. If you still want to watch the sunrise, get up. I'll wait for you outside. It's cold on the mountain. Remember to put on the coat when you come out. Originally, Ariana came to my house this time, also to watch the sunrise. Although she was unhappy, she still got up slowly. So I took her and climbed up the mountain behind my house in the dark. As soon as we sat down on the top of the mountain, Ariana was so tired that she was panting. Before she had time to complain, a touch of red glow lit up in the distance. The sun rose. Ariana excitedly took out her mobile phone to take pictures, and added a selfie and posted it on Moments. When I turned to look at her, she was happily playing with her mobile phone. Under the moments she posted, I saw a familiar person quickly comment on it. The sunrise is beautiful. You are more beautiful. Ariana didn't reply. There were some other comments below. They were all asking where Ariana was and that they also wanted to come and play. Ariana raised her eyebrows lie. Then, as if thinking of something, she turned off her phone and looked at me. I withdrew my gaze and looked at the sunrise with a cold look. Allah, what's wrong? I turned to look at Ariana again and found a touch of unapaidable mockery in her eyes. How are you and your boyfriend recently? You should have watched such a beautiful sunrise with him. How romantic. I smiled faintly. We broke up. Ariana seemed to be surprised and let out a sound. Why did you break up? He deceived me. Ariana sneered. Then you are really stupid. I also smiled. Mutual. The voice was very soft. The mountain wind blew and Ariana didn't hear a single word. What did you say just now? I shook my head. Nothing. On the way down the mountain, Ariana was still complaining about the backwardness and poverty of our stockade. Seeing that I didn't pay much attention to her, she finally changed the topic. Allah, what's the name of your stockade? I was walking in front with a branch in my hand, clearing the vines blocking my feet. I answered softly, Dwarf Stockade. Ariana repeated, Dwarf Stockade? Yes. Why is there such a name? Is it the dwarf I understand? Of course not. I knew she wanted to ask about the origin of this name. So I made up a story for her. It's called this name because people in our stockade all have the surname Zhu. For example, I am called Dela. Of course. I am talking about this except for those mothers and girls who married in later. Ariana thought for a while. Then what does dwarf mean? Which, Rue? The one in Rue Yi. After clearing the vines almost. I threw the branch aside and clapped my hands. Remember Serena, I mentioned to you? She guards our stockade. The name of our stockade is also derived from this. Seeing that I was finally willing to talk to her, Ariana went back to the original topic. Then Ayla, your stockade is so backward. Haven't you ever thought about leaving here forever? Forever? Leave? I looked thoughtfully in the direction of the forest of stone statues at the foot of the mountain. Then I gently shook my head. People born in the stockade will never leave the stockade. No matter where we are. We must come back when the time comes. Ariana sneered. Come back for what? Return to die and fall to roots? Hey. I can't see that you still love your hometown very much. I smiled. More or less. When we got down the mountain and arrived home, it was more than 7 o'clock in the morning. Ariana stretched happily and said she wanted to go back to her room and take a nap. As soon as she pushed open the courtyard door. But she found that there were 7 children staying in my courtyard. To be exact. They were all men who were almost 20 years old like Miles. At a glance, I knew that they all came to see people after hearing that I brought back a woman for Miles. Miles was not in the courtyard. Hendrix, who was the leader, came over and greeted us when he saw us. Sister Annie Ann. You are back. I nodded. Soon they put their eyes on Ariana. Is this the female classmate that Sister Annie and you brought back? Yes. This sister is also very beautiful. Ariana smiled. There are quite a lot of children here. They are all very sweet-tongued. We are not sweet-tongued. What we said is the truth. Sister is beautiful. That's right. Comparable to a fairy. A group of people surrounded Ariana. I silently stepped aside. I saw Ariana squat down in the midst of their enthusiastic praises, letting a group of children affectionately hug her body. Miles walked out of the room. There was a strange light in his eyes. He stood beside me and didn't stop their play. Aren't you angry? I asked him. Miles licked his lips and smiled strangely. More people are more fun. Anyway, I just want that drop of blood. The rest is up to them. Seeing it, touching it, but not getting it. Just a bunch of poor things. Miles turned to look at me and looked me up and down. But sister, you should be careful. Although I don't need you anymore. Hendrix is also almost 20 years old. After saying this, Miles also trotted and joined the crowd. I looked at them and whispered, you should be careful yourself. In the following days, I took Ariana to visit the scenery around the stockade one by one. Also every night, I urged her to drink that bowl of milky white soup. Day by day passed. Tomorrow is Miles' 20th birthday. There must be no mistakes tonight. After 12 o'clock, it is the day to decide Miles' life. After my mom and I carried Ariana to Miles' room, my mom was not at ease and repeatedly confirmed with Miles. Have you checked these days? Are you sure it's clean? Miles stared lecherously at Ariana on the bed. Not in the mood to talk to my mom anymore. He said impatiently, clean. Clean. Hurry up and go out. Can I harm myself? My mom and I went out. I didn't care about them, and went straight back to my room. The commotion in Miles' room didn't stop until midnight. I stood by the window in my room, watching my mom hiding outside Miles' door and listening all the time. There was a smile on her face after success. After listening for a long time, she finally went back to her room with a grin and went to sleep. But looking at the empty yard, the crescent moon hung high on the roof, looking at my mom's darkened room. And after my mom left, the sound in Miles' room stopped abruptly. But I had a rare insomnia. Early in the morning of the next day, my mom happily knocked on my door. Let me quickly take the adult clothes prepared for Miles and go to welcome my transformed younger brother. I carried the clothes silently and followed my mom and pushed open Miles' door. There was a deathly silence in the room. My mom muttered that something seemed wrong. Then looking up, She saw Ariana lying on the ground, looking dazed. And on her body, there was also a male stone statue lying on top, with its limbs tightly wrapped around Ariana. The male stone statue looked up at the sky, with a painful expression. Its whole body was covered with blue veins, as if it had struggled for a long time. When my mom saw this scene, she was stunned at first. Then, like crazy, she rushed into the room, picked up the stone statue with both hands and held it trembling lie in her arms. Then she kicked Ariana, turned to look at me. Her eyes were bloodshot. "You damn girl. How dare you harm my son? Believe it or not, I will make you pay with your life for him." I was a little unable to react and didn't speak. My mom put her gaze on Ariana again. And you, this cheap woman. Are you tricking my son? I will make all of you go and be buried with him." My mom hugged the stone statue and kicked Ariana again and again. After kicking for a long time, it seemed that she was still not relieved. But Ariana's expression was numb. It seemed that she had been greatly frightened. Even though her body was already bruised at this time, she didn't resist my mom. But I know that my mom really wanted to kick her to death. My heart sank. I quickly ran over to stop my mom. Stood in front of Ariana. "Mom, calm down. If you keep kicking, someone will really die." "So what if someone dies?" My mom's eyes were wide open with anger. She rushed up and grabbed my collar with one hand. "You tell me honestly. What's going on?" I frowned and shook my head. "I don't know." "Mom, you don't know? How could you not know? The person was brought back by you. You told us she was very clean. But what about the result? Why did your brother still turn into a stone statue? It must be that you didn't do things well enough and harmed my son." My mom tightly grabbed my collar. The veins on her hands bulged. 2 lines of tears fell from the corners of her eyes. "My son. How painful he must be. He trusted you all so much." My mom glanced at me and Ariana. "I will sacrifice you all to Serena and let you accompany him. Okay? He is your brother. You are willing, right?" I am not willing. He is not my brother at all." I directly broke free from my mom's hand and tried to persuade her. "Mom, calm down. This has nothing to do with me. Don't you remember?" Miles also checked. "Doesn't he know if it's clean or not? Probably he was a little too indulgent these days and didn't learn the skills well and failed." My mom's expression froze. She lowered her head and looked at Ariana. Ariana was still in a daze and didn't move. And in my courtyard, gradually, many villagers came to see what was going on. They knew very well that today was Miles' 20th birthday. They just wanted to see if he had succeeded. Now they are all outside the half-covered door, staring at us in the room. The men's eyes lit up when they looked at Ariana. They laughed in disgust. I moved my body, threw the clothes in my hand on Ariana's body and covered her body. My mom finally calmed down and walked out of the room trembling lie. She put the stone statue in her hand on the ground. Among the crowd, Uncle Wang, the oldest person in our stockade, stepped forward and sighed looking at the scene. He patted my mom on the shoulder. "Get ready. Send it to Serena this afternoon. Don't delay. As you can see, this stone statue is Miles. And in the forest of stone statues where Serena is located. All the male stone statues are men who didn't succeed in drawing blood on their 20th birthday and turned into stone statues. As for the female stone statues, they are basically useless outsiders who were sacrificed by the people in the stockade. Serena is not the god who guards us at all. In fact, she is an evil god who has cursed our entire stockade. We are afraid of her. But we can't escape her. We can never escape the stockade." On that day, my mom and I wiped the stone statue clean. In the afternoon, I carried it to the forest of stone statues. I found a suitable place and placed the stone statue. I sighed and walked back. On the way, I ran into my mom suddenly pulling Ariana and coming in my direction. When she saw me, she had a cold face. "Since your brother is gone, It's useless for our family to keep her anymore. It's impossible to let her go. Why don't we give her to Serena together today? Ariana looked haggard. Her long hair was messy and her clothes were in disarray. She looked like a crazy person. But fortunately, she wasn't as stupid as in the morning. When she saw me, she was so excited that she wanted to break free from my mom's hand. But she had no strength. She begged me. Allah, quickly ask your mom to let me go. I can ignore what happened last night. I can pretend that nothing happened. As long as you let me go. I want to leave. I want to go home. Please. Allah. For the sake of our 2-year roommate relationship. Let me go. I didn't do anything excessive to you. Why are you doing this to me? Ariana cried pitifully. At first glance, she was really pitiful. But I just looked at her coldly. Ariana, ask yourself. Have you really not done anything excessive to me? Ariana looked up blankly. I continued to question. What about Eric? Ariana's face turned pale. Subconsciously, she lowered her eyes and didn't dare to look at me. What's wrong with Eric? I took 2 steps forward, walked in front of Ariana, pinched her chin and forced her to look up and look at me. I don't care about Eric's matter. But that photo was released by you. Right? This matter. I can remember it for a lifetime. Eric is my ex-boyfriend who I mentioned when I climbed the mountain with Ariana to watch the sunrise that day, and we talked about that we had broken up. The reason for my breakup with him. It was because of Ariana's interference. What I said about Ariana wanting to catch a rich second generation is true. And Eric is one of the rich second generations she has hooked up with. Eric is very good at pretending. When he was in a relationship with me, he pretended to be a generous and decent rich young master. But in fact, a lot of the money he spent later was taken back from me. Even a small part was obtained through loans. After Ariana successfully seduced Eric, she discovered the truth. So in a fit of anger, she sent the intimate photos of me and Derek into the class group. Accepted the scrutiny of everyone. In an instant, it made me the target of public criticism. When walking on the road, I was always pointed at and talked about, saying that I am dissolute. I looked at Ariana. The hatred in my eyes was obvious. She thought she had hidden it well. But since she did it, how could I not find out? The woman brought to my brother is of course carefully selected by me. Ariana's face turned deathly pale. Suddenly, with some unknown strength, she broke free from me and my mom's hands and ran away. My mom looked at me with a half smile and told me to chase quickly. Then she turned around and walked home. I didn't delay either. I followed Ariana to the forest of stone statues and the slope where she fell down. Seeing that I had chased up, she stepped back step by step. Allah, you deserve it. Who told you to take pictures of him? The moment you took pictures of him, you should know that he can show the pictures to others at any time. I walked forward calmly. So you listened to others and secretly saved the photos into your phone, then used a small account to send the photos into the class group? The photo was not taken by me at his request. I don't know when he took it. I don't care. I was tricked by you. I just want to teach you a lesson. I just want to teach you a lesson. I sighed and reached out my hands. Ariana, I'm not here to catch you and take you back. Let's go. I'll send you out of the mountain. At the same time, I saw the short stone statue behind Ariana turn its head and look at us. Its eyes were bloodshot and the corners of its mouth were raised. I felt that it seemed to be telling me that it wanted to keep Ariana. I frowned. But before going out, I have something I need to make clear to you. Our stockade is a cursed place. After leaving the mountain, you must never tell anyone about the things in the stockade. As long as you have this thought, the curse will come true on you. I found that the stone statue seemed to be moving towards us little by little. I took a few steps forward and grabbed Ariana's arm. Come with me quickly. Otherwise, you may not be able to leave. Although I hated her, I just wanted her to learn a lesson. I didn't want her to lose her life because of this. And if she doesn't leave, it will be difficult for me to handle the following things. Who knew that as soon as I touched Ariana? In the next second, she pushed me hard and I fell down the slope. I hit my head and felt dizzy for a moment. There were many stone statues and stones at the bottom of the slope. I instantly understood that Ariana was aiming to make me fall to my death. She stood on the slope condescending, and looked down at me. Daphne rolled her eyes, and quickly picked up a stone from the ground and raised her hands to throw it at me. You deserve it. What right do you have to teach me a lesson? Send me out. Are you going to send me into some man's house again? Pretending to be a good person. Go to hell. A strange wind blew. The stone didn't fall. My eyelids were heavy. Before closing my eyes, I saw Ariana's body stiffen and turn into a stone statue little by little. Serena fell beside me. A voice sounded faintly in my ear. Bring her down. Put it on the right. When I woke up from fainting, it was already evening. The blood on my forehead had disappeared. My mom didn't come to look for me either. I covered my still dizzy head and was about to get up and bring Ariana down. Suddenly, I heard a sound coming from afar. Then a group of young people with backpacks walked not far from me. So far away. Why haven't we arrived yet? What kind of ghost place is this? So many stone statues. Why doesn't the navigation work after entering the mountain? Won't we get lost in the mountain? Look. There is also a stone statue on the slope. This place looks quite evil. She looks so much like Ariana. Hey. Take a picture and send it to her. Hey? There is also a person sitting there. Where? Damn. Isn't that the woman who had something with Eric? What's her name? Allah. A group of people chattered, making my head dizzy. I struggled to stand up. Those people had already walked in front of me. The man in the lead smiled and looked down at me. His expression was gentle. Classmate. What a coincidence. Are you also here to watch the sunrise? And behind him, those people were still discussing. Looking closely, she is just so. I wonder if her figure is really as sexy as in that photo. A man smirked. Just ask her to take off again for you to see. You've seen it before. I don't want it. It's too dirty. My eyes darkened, pretending not to hear. I looked at the man in the lead. I knew them. They are all classmates from our school. If I remember correctly. This one in the lead seems to be called Alexander. He is one of Ariana's suitors. Seeing that I didn't speak, Alexander spoke again. Classmate you. Don't you know us? We are all classmates from C University. We saw the sunrise in Ariana's moments and wanted to come. Are you too? Then do you know where Ariana is? We suddenly can't contact her. I shook my head and said calmly. I don't know. I'm not here to watch the sunrise. My home is here. Really? That's great. It's getting dark. I don't know if classmate Shu can kindly take us in for a night? No. I directly refused. My home is very small and shabby. It can't accommodate so many of you. After saying this, I directly turned and left. Not wanting to cause trouble. But what I didn't expect was, these people actually came to my house uninvited and followed me. Classmate Shu, don't blame us. In this wild mountain, if we don't follow you, we will have to sleep outdoors. You shouldn't mind, right? I didn't say a word. Raised my hand and pushed open the courtyard door. My mom was standing in the middle of the yard. When she saw that I brought back so many people, she narrowed her eyes and didn't say a word. But at dinner, she brought each of us a bowl of that milky white soup that Ariana had drunk. I lowered my eyes slightly and asked my mom softly, do I drink it too? My mom smiled sinister lie. Drink it. Mushroom soup. It's very fresh. I didn't ask anymore. I drank that bowl of soup in one gulp. Others also drank it with relish. Only Alexander, sitting on the chair without moving, stared at the bowl of soup thoughtfully, until my mom left. Under my gaze, he poured the soup into the trash can. At night, everyone fell asleep. My mom secretly sneaked into my room. carried me to the yard. Those classmates who followed me back, including Alexander, were also lying in the yard. But in fact, I didn't faint. I secretly squinted my eyes and observed my mom, wanting to know what she was going to do. I saw my mom draw a very large circle with charcoal ash and cinnabar in the middle of the yard. We were lying inside the circle. There were talismans pasted all around the circle. There was an altar in front. There was a red candle and 6 white candles on the table. Even the stone statue of Serena was brought back home by her. It was placed in the center of the altar. My mom was lighting the candles one by one, with her back to us. My heart sank. What are you talking about this for? Does it have something to do with our matter? Could it be that you are that little girl? I smiled. Of course it's not me. The story is not finished yet. Later, the village was too backward. Many people in the village moved away. Gradually, only those who had bullied the little girl were left in the village. Alexander, why didn't they move away? I shook my head. They can't leave. Since then, for some unknown reason, every boy born in that village will be a dwarf. The boy back then became the oldest uncle in the village. He had a dream. In the dream, a voice told him that as long as those boys obtained a drop of virgin blood from a foreign woman on their 20th birthday, they could return to normal. But the premise is to enshrine a Serena in the mountain. They tried it. Unexpectedly, it really succeeded. I stood up and walked towards Alexander in front of me. In fact, that dream at first just wanted those people in the village to understand not to be wishful thinking. How could outsiders look at them? These rubbish. But I didn't expect these people to be so vicious. Continuously abducting women from outside and bringing them back. Some were even abducted when they were very young and raised as child brides. The sky was overcast. Alexander was nervous, not knowing what I was going to do. But he probably guessed that what I said was about the things in the stockade. And probably also guessed Ariana's fate. I directly took the initiative and brought up the topic. Pointed to the stone statue on the slope. Didn't you want to find Ariana? That's Ariana. Alexander's eyes wide and in horror. I smiled brightly at him. The photo. You also have a share in it. Right? This story is a dream I had after I fainted that day. I know that the protagonist in the story is the Serena beside me. This is also the reason for the curse in the stockade. But I don't feel sorry for those people in the stockade, who are cursed at all. Because I am one of the child brides abducted in the stockade. I am not my mom's biological child. I am the medicine prepared for Miles. It's just that I accidentally discovered the secret of the stockade, and directly destroyed the medicine on me. Miles doesn't know about this. That's why my mom asked me to make up for my mistakes. Go to school outside and bring back a clean woman. So I brought back Ariana. I also know that Ariana is not a so-called clean woman, because she and Derek have had intimate actions long ago. It's just that after learning that Eric is not a so-called rich second generation, she went to the hospital and had an operation, added a layer. That's why Miles didn't detect any abnormality in those days. As for the photo, it was Alexander who asked Ariana to send it into the class group. He is an accomplice. Under my gaze, Alexander turned into a stone statue little by little. He knew the secret of our stockade. How could Serena let him go? And now, they have finally received their due punishment. I took out Ariana's mobile phone from my pocket. There is the location of watching the sunrise that I shared with Alexander on it. I clicked on Eric's dialog box and looked. I brought Ariana's stone statue down. Brushed off the dead leaves on her head. I originally wanted to let you go. It's you who didn't want to. But soon they will all come to accompany you. I was about to go home. That faint voice sounded in my ear again. You are not from the stockade originally. You can leave. I walked home without looking back. After tomorrow, I will naturally leave. I just hope you don't stop me. I won't stop you. Just leave them to accompany me. I will also help you deal with those people in your family. But you need to do me a favor. What favor? His grave is on the mountain in the east. Dig it up and throw it out to feed the dogs. I closed my eyes and asked her, "Why are you helping me?" "Because you are pitiful." I chuckled softly, turned around and walked towards the mountain in the east. Okay. At the same time, in my yard, there are 6 more stone statues. They stood in rows in the yard, together with me, waiting for Eric's arrival.